Hello, everyone. Take a moment right now to think about a public space that felt really good to you. Maybe it's a garden, maybe it's even a bus stop or a mall, or a place you once visited, or perhaps it's right down the road from your home. What made this space special? My name is Rebecca Chaplin, and I'm the Associate State Director with AARP North Carolina in the Mountain Region. Today, we are going to explore and exemplify an idea called placemaking. Placemaking is both an overarching idea and a hands-on approach for improving a neighborhood, a city, or even a region. Placemaking inspires people to collectively reimagine and reinvent public spaces at the heart of every community. Importantly, placemaking strengthens a connection between people and the places they share. Placemaking is a part of what makes a community livable. And just to learn a little bit more, if you'd like, about livable communities and AARP, you can visit aarp.org/livable. Now, let's turn our attention to an example that we hope will inspire and intrigue you. The Center for Craft in Asheville is working collaboratively with members of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians to create a public art parklet called The Basket. Not only is it intended as an outdoor meeting space for all ages, it will celebrate Indigenous craft traditions and serve as a welcoming gateway to the budgeting downtown art district. I want to welcome to our live stream today, Marilyn Zapf, the Assistant Director for the Center for Craft, Hope Husky, the Associate Director with the Sequoia Fund. And we're so proud and pleased to have with us Mary Thompson, the artist, basket maker, and the artist and basket maker. So this is how the show is going to go today. It'll start with Marilyn and I having a little bit of a discussion on the background. And then Marilyn is going to talk with Mary with some really interesting aspects of her personal story and also her basket making experience. Finally, Hope is going to join us and tell us more about the connection between this work and the Sequoia Fund, which could be a resource to all. All right, we'll get started here. Hi, Marilyn.
Hey, Rebecca.
So tell us more about the Center for Craft.
Yeah, sure. So the Center for Craft is a national 501c3 nonprofit, which is headquartered in downtown Asheville, North Carolina. We are actually celebrating our 25th anniversary this year, which is very exciting. Nationally, we have a number of programs that we've been running, including awarding over $300,000 in grants to emerging artists and craft scholars and curators across the country. And we also convene many thought leaders in the field through conferences and think tanks. And then locally, we have 2 galleries in downtown Asheville that are free and open to the public. And we've recently launched a co-working space in service to the Western North Carolina creative sector.
Wow. I didn't know about the new co-working space. So much always changing and happening. And one of those changes that's happening is about this future parklet. Tell us more about where the idea came from. And yeah, let's start there.
Yeah, sure. So the kind of seed came from a 2017 neighborhood planning project that we instigated with the Asheville Design Center called the Broadway Cultural Gateway Project. And through a really extensive stakeholder and neighborhood engagement process, the need for more pedestrian amenities such as parklets, as well as the desire for more public art and gateway features into downtown Asheville was identified. We also, through that project, did a lot of research about the history of the neighborhood, and we learned that Broadway is a historic Cherokee trading route. And so that those 2 kind of seeds were really what sparked this project that has led to the development of this parklet that you see here, the basket, that we're so excited about.
Great. I felt like it was time to start showing people a little bit about what we're talking about here. So I can just move through some of these slides and as we share the images, is there anything you want to say about this view right here?
Yeah, sure. So something, parklets are a sort of new term in creative placemaking and creative placekeeping for sure. So everyone may not be aware that parklets are really sort of sidewalk extensions, right? Allowing for more public space, place for pedestrians to sit down, maybe local business owners could come by and have lunch or share a coffee, have a little outdoor meeting space. The parklet's also going to feature some bike racks where people can bring their bikes and encourage multimodal transportation.
Awesome.
So what you're seeing here are the schematics that were designed by Osgood Landscape Design Company, and they have been working with us and a whole team of artisans and designers, including Mary Thompson, who we have here with us today, to create the basket, which is inspired by Eastern Band basket making. And I love in particular this idea of a basket. As a basket is something that like contains and holds people, and this contains and holds things, and this parklet will be something that contains and holds people. And so even on a conceptual level, we've got this reference to basketry, but in all of the little tiny details that have been thought through, basketry is referenced. So the materials that we're using are white oak, which is a traditional Cherokee basket making material. The stains that we're using reference Cherokee natural dyes, and some of the patterns are incorporated in there. And even this like very linear design references splints, which is kind of a technical term, but maybe we'll get into that, which is part of the process of basket making, that you kind of weave different aspects throughout. So yeah.
Cool.
Thanks. We've been working on this for almost 2 years now. And it's been a big project engaging a lot of community members and a lot of members of the Eastern Band of Cherokee to develop this design.
It's one of the things I most appreciate about this process is the inclusivity, that the space that you've created, much like a basket, for people to have their voices heard. And I just love that you have the opportunity to work with Mary Thompson, basket maker and artist, on this. And as I have learned a little bit about Mary's story, I feel so inspired and excited to connect with the space that you're creating. So without further ado, I'm going to head out and let you talk to Mary a little bit more about her craft.
Fantastic. Hey, Mary.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Or afternoon, I guess it is.
Hard to tell when it's raining like it is in Western North Carolina today.
Mm-hmm.
So Mary, you and I have had the pleasure of kind of getting to know each other and work together for almost 2 years. And I have learned a lot about you and keep learning a lot about you and just your many talents and multifaceted art practice. And something that many people may not know about you but would like to know is that you're actually a 3rd generation basket maker. And I'm just sort of curious if you would mind sharing what inspired you to start wanting to learn how to make baskets, and what inspired you to learn to make baskets?
There are so many of us, tribal members, that are basket makers, and many, many generations. What we were referencing in the 3rd generation is specifically double weave basket makers from the river cane, because baskets was so much a part of everyday life for all of the ancestors that before me, that they used baskets for everything: harvesting, gathering, storage. Baskets were used for everything. The river cane wall mats were used for room dividers. So we're all generation basket makers and basket weavers, but specifically the river cane is something that the different tribes are starting to lose connection with. Mm-hmm. So it pleased me to be a part of this basket project, and I guess I got inspired to start weaving whenever after I got out of the Air Force and come home. My family has always woven baskets. We've always been around it. My sisters, my whole family. When Mom would work up her materials, her splints, even going to the woods to get it, going to the woods to get the dyes. We were always there, tagging along, helping, seeing, doing, just watching.
Mm.
So when I finally decided to pick it up and start weaving was a point in my time when I was just ready, I guess. It's always been there, and I was ready to start weaving.
Yeah, that's wonderful. You mentioned double weave baskets and specifically the sort of intricacy and generational knowledge involved in learning how to make those. And I was wondering, because double weave is one of the hardest kind of or most complex weaves of baskets. Do you happen to have any examples that you could show us or explain the difference between a double weave basket and other type of basket weaving?
I can. I'd be glad to. I've got one of my prized possessions is one of my mom's double weave baskets, and it's the flowing water design, which I think was incorporated into the basket Parklet. And can I first share just a little bit of information about river cane?
Yeah, I'd love that.
River cane, I have learned, is one of the more traditional materials for basket weaving. River cane, because it was abundant back before European contact, it grew by the rivers. As you mentioned, the trade route right there at the French Broad River, rivers were a major part of the Cherokee and other Indian tribes, their travel. And so with river cane being abundant, and it was used, as I mentioned before, for the wall dividers, floor mats, all kind of different things. Eventually, as after European contact and after native peoples were starting to be pushed back into the mountains, then we started using other resources available, such as white oak and the honeysuckle. And so now to be able to do the river cane double weave basket, it's a real challenge. It's a real challenge because the resources are not here anymore. We really have to travel far and wide to find river cane. It's been depleted at a rapid rate because it grows by the water and everybody wants waterfront property. River cane at one time grew, I mean, it was all in the southeast, all the way up to maybe Indiana and out. And because of development, it's being destroyed. So it's no wonder that there's not many people making the double weave. I got started making a double weave basket along with my mom and my sister and my daughter when the Cherokee Preservation Foundation and the museum and probably the Koala Arts and Crafts collaborated to do some revitalization projects here on the Koala boundary. Mm-hmm. And the tribe had realized at this point that we were losing a lot of our culture, our language, our basket weavers, our speakers, and so did some revitalization projects. And that's how I got involved with river cane. And so it's become a favorite of mine. And our teachers were Ramona and Lucille Lawsey. And they're the best, you know, they're just the best, but they taught us how. I actually had to take the class twice to really get the hang of it because I don't know, it's a lot more complicated than just weaving a white oak basket. But I have one here. I'll be glad to share with you. Let me just grab it.
Yeah, when you grab it, I'll just say I know that educating people about river cane and how it's become an endangered how it's just become endangered in general is one of the things that the signage and the basket is hoping to educate people about, because it is a natural resource that Western North Carolina is sort of quickly losing.
It is. I was on a webinar conference, and it's a concern not just here in Cherokee, but everywhere. The conference was, and I don't want to start naming names because I'll forget half of them, but it was with the tribes of the Cherokee Nation and the Untitled and some of the southern tribes down here in Florida and Louisiana area that have basket weavers, and they're concerned about the lack of habitat for the river cane.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's kind of dark in here where I'm at, so I don't know if this will show up very good, but this is my treasure. It's my mom's river cane basket, and it starts in the bottom. See if I can get this up there.
Mm-hmm.
It starts in the bottom, and then you weave up the sides, and then you turn it down, and you weave it back down, and then you finish it on the bottom. And so, and I don't know how many. I don't know. This is just it's my treasure. My mom made it and gifted it to me, and I love it. But I have another basket here that has it started on the bottom. This one's a same flowing water design, and then I woke it up and I turned it back down, but I haven't finished the bottom yet.
And those pieces sticking out, those are the splints, right? So that's sort of the structure around which you weave the other pieces. Is that how? That's really amazing to get to see it in process like that, and how it all comes together from the inside back to the outside. That is so beautiful.
I have a piece of cane right here that I would show you.
Oh, wow.
I went yesterday to, or I called yesterday and talked to some local folks trying to find a piece of river cane that I could get to demonstrate today. And it took a lot of effort to get one little stick of river cane, just running around. I went to one patch, it was dead. But I was talking to Adam Griffin at RT Car, and he sent me over there, and it was dead. And I went by the Western Carolina building, and all of that was cut, but that's a different kind of cane. But I finally did go and get one little stick. And so this is kind of what it looks like. This is an immature stick. So I should have brought my knife in here with me.
I mean, it's kind of amazing to see that just in and of itself, and to think that, you know, how you process those materials, both from harvesting them and knowing when to collect them, but like how that big bushy green, you know, plant becomes those delicate, tight, shiny little splints that create the beautiful basket patterns. I mean, it's kind of amazing to see the raw materials after having just seen that basket that you created.
Yeah, that was a lot of work right there, that picture that she just put up. But see, now if I were to process this, I would take this piece of cane and I would split it down the middle. And watch me cut myself right here on live TV.
Please don't do that.
No, but see how you split it down the middle. And then you take this and you split it again. And sometimes you can get 4, 6, or 8 splints depending on the size of the cane. But then, and then once you finally get it down to a width that you can work with, then you're going to split the outside from the inside.
Oh, wow.
Because all you want is that tiny little outside shiny finish. And then this you would see how I'm going to split, because I want this little piece here. And so I'm going to take all this off, And it's really, once you do this, and you're looking at splitting it 2 or 3 times and then scraping it and then trimming it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can start weaving your basket. I think that is one of the differences between a basket maker and a basket weaver, is that you harvest the material, you harvest the dyes, you process everything, and then you weave your basket.
Mm-hmm.
I can easily go to the store and purchase breed or some materials and weave a basket really quick. But to be a basket maker, you got to be able to do all of that. And youngers not doing it, then not learning how to do it, then I think that's where we are at risk of losing it.
Yeah. That has been something that I have been so impressed to learn, what you just described, the sort of difference between a basket maker and weaver, and just to give people a little glimpse inside the process of all that goes behind the making of a basket. I think it shows people how it's like not just connected to the time of the maker, it's connected to the time, you know, that it takes to grow all of the natural materials and harvest them and process them. And it's just so much more involved than I think meets the eye. So I'm so glad that we can educate people more about that tradition.
Mm-hmm.
I want to also bring to people's attention the fact that you are an artist that works in multiple mediums, and you're also a ceramic artist. And I was wondering if you had any ceramics that you could show us, or if your basket making approaches at all kind of inform your ceramics process.
Actually, it does. The basket weaving kind of, it carries over into everything. I don't know if you can see these. The mats and the designs and everything that you can come up with can get very intricate in basket weaving.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have used our basket designs, my sister and I, to do a lot of different things. That chair back there, the fabric is a basket weave. Actually, I could probably show you this chair a little bit easier. The Sequoia Fund, Authentically Cherokee, Hope Husky, and all have done. They did some classes with the youth with the 4-H program, and we designed a fabric, and we use that people use the fabric to make their clothing, to make aprons, to make all kind of things. We used our fabric to reupholster chairs. And it's a basket design. We do ceramics, and I guess I specialize more in the 1800s reproduction pottery, and it's stamped with a wooden paddle. And basket designs end up in that. I've got Noonday Sun, and we even learned to do some shell carving with Dan Townsend. There was a class done through the museum, and even that has basket designs in it from me and my family. I don't know if I can show you any of the ceramics over here. We've got quite a bit of ceramics.
Oh, that's amazing. Hearing how the pattern translate. And we have a question actually from an audience member wondering if you have a favorite design.
I don't think I have a favorite design, but I have a favorite, but I like the cane weave designs. You can get so intricate in your designs with river cane that you can't get it with white oak or honeysuckle. And so all of them, I don't have a favorite. There's just too many of them, and I like them all.
I love that answer. Well, Mary, you mentioned hope, and I thought that maybe now we could bring hope back into the discussion. Hope and you both were also part of the advisory committee on the Parklet signage, which really helped to identify what kind of educational text that we wanted to include, what the messages were, and that committee wrote and approved all of the language, and the signs will include information about Cherokee history, Cherokee language, Cherokee basket making, and more information about contemporary Eastern Band Cherokee practices. So Hope, we're so glad to have you join us. And maybe you could start by telling us a little bit more about the Sequoia Fund.
Sure. Thank you, Marilyn. Hey, Mary. It's good to see you both. So I work for an organization in Cherokee called the Sequoia Fund, and we are what's formally called a CDFI, or a Community Development Financial Institution. So we were sort of set up by the tribe and certified by the federal government to help people access capital. And CDFIs are usually found in areas where people have a hard time getting loans for whatever reason. And Sequoia Fund's sort of mission was to try to help people start businesses. And we really sort of uncovered that our artists needed a lot of help in the business arena. They were perfect in the artist category, but really getting their business skills out. So that's one of the reasons I'm here today. That's one of the reasons that I get to work so closely with Mary. In addition to our artist programs, we do lending for small businesses across the region. So the 7 Western counties, so Haywood County West. And we also have an extensive training program that folks can sort of learn more about on our website or on our social media. And just so you guys know, Sequoia Fund is a nonprofit. We're a nonprofit arm of the tribe. So everything we do is to, try to build community and economic development in the region.
Yeah, that's wonderful information. And, because as a committee, we spent so much time talking about the importance of educating people about Cherokee language and syllabary. And I know Sequoia, from the namesake of the nonprofit, has a major role in that, but people may not know who Sequoia was. So could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So Sequoia is the creator of the Cherokee Syllabary. Syllabary is what we call our alphabet, and it is called Syllabary because it's based on a series of sounds or syllables. And if you know it, it's very intuitive. But then you also think about the complexities that went into it. So he just took all the sounds that made up his language, and he drew a character to represent each of those sounds and created the first written language for a native tribe. And this was back in the 1800s. So he was way before his time, and it is just persevered. And he's an important figure to recognize. And one of the reasons we picked him to represent what we do at Sequoia Fund is because of innovation. Mm-hmm. He was doing something that really no one had thought about doing, but it was something that the community needed. And so that's the reason we like to honor him.
That's really great. Speaking of innovation, and I'm sort of curious, you mentioned how Authentically Cherokee is the sort of programs that specifically caters to Eastern Band Cherokee artisans and artists. How have you seen artists innovating since you've been working through Authentically Cherokee? And maybe we could ask Mary that too. I'd be curious about both of y'all's responses.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. You guys saw, Mary told you we held a class to help people design some fabric, and all of a sudden she's reupholstering chairs. And so that's a great example of just the different levels that the artists are able to take it to. And one of the things we really want to do with Authentically Cherokee is give artists the resources to do the things they've always dreamed of doing. So often, whenever you're trying to be a business owner and you're trying to sell your pieces, I think you get caught up on designing for other people, and you're trying to give the community what they want. And so being innovative sometimes takes a second place to that. And so when we create these special events and do these special classes, we really want the artists just to go wild and try to do things that they've never thought about doing before or just dreamed about doing. So the fabric was a great example of that. And in conjunction with that fabric creation, we hosted a fashion show. And so we had all these artists who were, most of them already knew how to sew, but maybe they were pairing up with some of the seamstresses and tailors in town, and they were getting together, making these outfits. The Cherokee wear these beautiful feather capes that are made from feathers. And so people were pairing those and borrowing everyone's feather capes and working with moccasin makers and jewelry makers. And so it was really a collaborative effort. And then it's cool to see how those artists get together and what they can come up with whenever they're collaborating and working as a team. And I know that the artists love to work together. They tell us all the time that some of the favorite things that we do is just getting them together and serving a meal and letting them talk about what it is that they do and how they're inspired. And so building that community and that network is important to us as well.
Oh, awesome. Mary, did you have any thoughts about how you've seen artists innovating today?
I kind of go back to how tribal people have always adapted to change, and what the artists are doing now with the resources that they have available. I mean, the jewelry, the jewelry makers here, the shell carvers here, a lot of the artists that have utilized the programs down here through the Sequoia Fund and are marketing their artwork. It's really great to see, and I guess I'm happy that we have the resources available to us that we can continue to adapt and change and with the times. So it's helped me out a lot, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, fantastic. I have it on good measure that Hope, you have started learning basket weaving yourself.
Yay!
Well, I've taken a couple of classes. I wouldn't flash up any of my pieces just now. But yeah, I think, I'm as a tribal member, it's important, I think, to really understand the work that our artists are putting in to what it is that they do, and what better way to understand it than actually try your hand at it, right? And I haven't gotten out and tried to gather cane or get a white oak, but once artists like Mary break the splints down, I certainly have tried my hand at weaving them a little bit. And a lot of our artists are really, really great teachers as well. And I know that folks like Mary, they offer classes in the community. They want to share their knowledge, and they want to teach and grow the art form.
Yeah.
I think it's really important that we pass it along. If somebody hadn't taught me or showed me or given me that chance, I wouldn't be able to do it now. So to go out and contribute and give back to the community it's always a good thing. I've worked with the kids at the Anikituwahgi Academy, the kids at the Cherokee High School, and even within the community, the Big Cove Women's Group, we've gotten together and done some basketry and things like that. And a lot of this, the art that we do, the traditional and cultural work that is done within our tribe and others, they're doing it too. We've got to hand it down to each other and pass it on, or we will lose it. And I think it's a really important statement that needs to be made. I'm glad to contribute anything I can.
I have to point out the image that Rebecca was just showing up here, because I find it so important based on what you were just saying, passing it down. And Mary, how you started telling us about how you learned from your mother and other elders in the community, and would follow your mother around kind of the woods learning how to basket make. And that last picture that we just showed was you and your grandchildren going out to harvest river cane. And so you are definitely doing your part to pass it along. It's such a sweet photograph, and also shows like how hardcore it is to go and harvest river cane. I mean, that's some serious workwear you've got.
Don't tell the grandkids it's work. They were just having fun.
Yeah, the basket makers are tough. Y'all saw Mary handle that knife. She's got skills for sure.
I worked hard for those skills too.
And that's the beauty of it. And that's another great reason why this initiative really falls really beautifully into who AARP is and what we stand for, about empowering people to choose how they live as they age and honoring age as a gift and an asset. And I think you are exemplifying the gift of your experience, Mary. We would love to hear from Hope or Mary before we go on any recommendations that you might have for viewers or listeners who want to learn more about the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indian art and craft. Anything else you think our listeners should know?
Go ahead, Hope. I got to think about this.
Okay. Yeah, so my recommendation is get to Cherokee, really to feel the art and to see how the artists are inspired, the colors, the designs. They're all right there in Cherokee. And so it really helps you get a good taste of what the artists are doing and feeling and seeing. And the Museum of the Cherokee Indian has some amazing resources. They have a new art gallery, and the Qualla Arts and Crafts Cooperative is our nation's oldest Native cooperative. It's a great place. There's around 300 EBCI members who make arts and crafts there. And if you can't get to Cherokee, go visit the Center for Craft. There are places all over Western North Carolina that are kind of Cherokee spots where you can kind of get a little taste of Cherokee culture and art.
Mary, do you have anything you would like to add?
Yes. Cherokee art so ties into Cherokee culture, which ties into Cherokee history. It's all so entwined together. Sometimes the more I learn about on my artwork and the culture and history that comes with it, the more intrigued and fascinated I am with it, to want to go and learn something more. And how it even ties into the other art, the pottery, the different things. They all tie together. But our artwork and our culture and our history, we have to share with each other, because it's not anything that you can learn at school in the history books, anything like that. So having all of this tie into the parklet over there, and actually acknowledging that it was the old Cherokee trading route, people don't know that. So whenever with the educational component that's going to come with the parklet over there, I think it's very important for the public, for the people who are visiting Asheville, to be aware of, to know. Just pulling that parklet together and getting the history and the language and those little facts together. You used a lot of resources here in Cherokee, whether it was the speakers over at the KPAP, the Sequoia Fund, the folks through the museum, the artists themselves, the board members for the Qualla Arts and Crafts Mutual, and the folks in the staff down there. There's been so many resources that pulled together, that collaborated to make this parklet what it is. I'm very appreciative of all of that, and especially the educational component that parklet is going to allow to be presented in downtown Asheville. That little piece right there, I think, is what really motivated me to stay involved with this project. I appreciate that we're sharing some of our culture and history with the public, and it's factual, not TV. I mean, there's people out there that still think you know, we lived in teepees and things like that, and we never did. We weren't a nomadic tribe, but there's so little knowledge of tribal people, indigenous people here in the United States, not just Cherokee, you know, all of us. And, you know, I guess you say it's just us. All over the world, there's indigenous people. And it's important that the true facts and their history be shared. Maybe one day we'll get it in school, and we'll get it, and you can learn all these things. But I guess I learned a lot through the museum and the different programs and things that's available here. That part too needs to be shared with the kids as they're learning their art. I hope that they too will get involved or intrigued with their culture and history and how it pulls together and how it ties together. And then we've made that full circle. Thank you for all your help.
Beautifully said. And thank you for your inspiration that you shared with everyone joining us today. There's so many comments just appreciating you and Hope and for being with us today, and Marilyn and the Center for Craft for inspiring and really bringing together our history into our present. Marilyn, what would you like to add as we come to a close here?
Oh, I mean, I just have to reiterate what an honor it really is to work with Mary and with Hope on this project. And they have both provided just so much inspiration, and I'm excited for the Parklet to hopefully come to realization. We are currently tentatively estimating this fall based on our fundraising goals. So I hope that you all will come visit the center, but before then, go out to Cherokee and as Hope said, just get to handle and see and experience for yourself the amazing artistic traditions and contemporary practice out there.
Awesome. And I would be remiss not to show Mary's Facebook page here, Traditional Cherokee NC. So please do check that out so you can stay connected, in addition to going out to Cherokee. And I know we have Authentically Cherokee too, which is part of the Sequoia Fund. And that's a good resource to find art, craft, and art that is authentic to Cherokee. It has been such a wonderful conversation, and I hope that everyone who joined us today feels inspired. If you learned something new, type it into the comment section. We'd like to get your feedback, and Mary has some final thoughts for us. Go for it, Mary.
Thank you, Rebecca. I just received word this morning that my little gallery studio workshop over here is going to be part of the Blue Ridge Heritage Arts Trail. So
Wow.
you might want to, you know, for the folks out there, if they want to check out the Blue Ridge, I know I'm going to say this wrong. I don't have it in front of me. But it's the Blue Ridge Arts Trail. Hope you may help me out with that. And
I think it may be Craft Trail.
I'm also honored to say that I am a fellow for the Arrow Mount Arts and Crafts School over in Gatlinburg. So I do appreciate that. And if anybody wants to give me a call or holler, try the Recovering Traditional Cherokee or Authentically Cherokee. I appreciate all of you. You all have a great day.
All right. Well, that's a wrap. Hope you enjoyed our inspirational show for the day, and we'll say goodbye.